Hey everyone, Friday, April 17th. I had to think for a second, which is awesome because it means it's a weekend. So I thought I'd put this cool little GIF in there for you, or GIF. I don't really remember how to say it, but regardless, let's get into today's notes. We're going to talk about frequency tables. I think you've looked at these in 8th grade, but I can't remember if it was part of your learning targets or if it was removed or not. But regardless, it's going to be pretty quick today. So yesterday we talked about two-way tables. It looks a lot like this, filling it out. Today we're going to talk about frequency tables. Frequency, so the relative frequency is how often it happens. In order to fill out the table, you will take the frequency of how often it happens. So we'll go through some examples, and you divide it by the total of all the frequencies, right? So let's go through this first example. The one-way frequency table below shows the results of a survey Mr. Kisner took at school. We asked 80 randomly selected students whether they preferred basketball, football, or soccer. Okay, so as you can see, the total number of students is 80. 28 preferred soccer, 32 preferred football, and 20 preferred basketball. So the question is, how do you create a relative frequency table for that? Well, what a frequency table is essentially telling us is what's the percentage, okay, of people that prefer those specific sports. So the very first thing you need to know is that in a relative frequency table, the total should always be 1.0. Okay, and the reason for that is because as a percentage, that is 100%, right, if you were to move the decimal over. So a relative frequency table always adds up to 100%. Okay, and then to fill in the blanks, all you have to do is take the number that's up top and divide it by the total. So for soccer, there were 28 people that preferred it out of 80 total people surveyed, right? And then you can write down what that number is. Football, there were 32 out of 80. Oops, sorry. Dropping my calculator there. And basketball, there were 20 out of 80. Which we know to be 1/4, which is 25%, or 0.25. Okay, if you're talking about the decimal. 32 out of 80. I should know this off the top of my head. Let's see, 40%. So 0.4, which leaves the last one, 28 out of 80. Which is 0.35. Okay, so if you're looking at that and you add these numbers together, okay, so 0.40 plus 0.35 plus 0.25, you get 0, carry the 1, 4 and 3 is 7, 8, 9, 10, so this would be 1.0. Okay, so see how it adds? It has to add up to 100%. Okay, so moving on, let's go through another example. Example number 2, Mr. Miller asked a total of 240 randomly selected students who prefer sports cars over SUVs, women or men. And you can see the two-way table that's already been done here. Okay, just like we talked about yesterday. And now it says convert the two-way table into a frequency table. So again, remember, just like I said, no matter what, it has to add up to 100%, or 1.0 is a decimal. And then for all the rest of the numbers, you just take the total of that specific box and divide it by the total of people that were actually surveyed. So this is going to be 60 over 240, which is 6 over 24 is 1/4, so this is 0.25, which means this is 0.75. Okay, this is 84 out of 240. This is 156 out of 240. Okay, and I don't expect you to know all these off the top of your head. You can obviously use a calculator, which is 0.65, which means that this has to be 0.35. Okay, sports car is 39 out of 240. This for males, 45 out of 240 for females, 21 out of 240 for SUVs, and 135 out of 240. All right, so let's use our calculator to go through those. 21 out of 240 is 0.0875. 135 out of 240 is 0.5625, which if you add those both together, you'll get the other. 39 out of 240 is 0.1625. And 45 out of 240 is 0.1875. Okay? And again, once you add those all up, you'll get the same total. So that's how you create a frequency table. Pretty simple. So to go back and ask the question, who prefers sports cars over SUVs, women or men? So what percentage of people, let's see, who prefers sports cars over SUVs, women or men? So if we look at this question, males prefer, like 8% of males prefer SUVs, 16% prefer sports cars. Females, 56% prefer SUVs, only 18% prefer sports cars. So to answer the question, which one prefers sports cars over SUVs, that would be men. Okay, it's a higher percentage for sports cars than it is for SUVs for them. Okay? All right. Do the exit ticket.